I will call this meeting of the Board of Trustees to order at 6 o'clock exactly on Thursday, January 11th. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. So the first order, again, are board presentations, and we're going to be recognizing the newly appointed 2024 different emergency services units within the village of Southampton, and we will be starting with the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Officers. So I would ask them to come forward to be recognized. Where's Kyle? There's Kyle. Okay. We got. Okay, and do we have Secretary Daniel Berry or Treasurer Don Mahoney here? They're not here. Okay.
Mayor Becker, do you want to read the names off, or would you like Administrator Carter to read the names just to acknowledge them?
Yeah, I can read their names. So for the chief of the again the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance, we have Kyle McGinnis. First Assistant Chief, Christopher Rapley. And Second Assistant Chief will be Colby Gill when he arrives. And we're supposed to...
Secretary and the Treasurer. Even though
Sorry, Secretary is Daniel Berry, and the Treasurer is Donald Mahoney. Thank you.
should we stand by for Colby?
Or we could just wait. We could have them
Plan to press?
go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like both of you to raise your right hand, and when I say I, then you'll state your name and then you repeat after me. So thank you everyone for coming, by the way. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to everyone.
Say it loudly, please.
I will. Do you want me to go into the mic?
That'd be great.
Ready? Raise your right hand. On behalf of the State of New York, County of Suffolk, and the Village of Southampton, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of
Chief, First Assistant Chief,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Come and
Great.
get a picture.
Thank you.
Colby, I don't know what's going to happen.
He's out.
Boy, that was quick. Your first executive decision.
Colby! Move it a little more. Everyone good? Okay. Thank you guys for being here. I don't think. All right. Next, we're going to recognize the newly appointed 2024 Southampton Village Ocean Rescue Officers. And there are a lot of them, so I'm going to call them all here. Hold on. Here we go. So we have Chief Alexander King, First Assistant Chief Josh Bellery, Second Assistant Chief Nicholas Palumbo, We have Captain Maria Teresa Abadasa, Captain Luke O'Connor, Captain Vincent McGann, Lieutenant Bruce Lieberman, Lieutenant Dylan Henderson, Lieutenant T.J. Parker, Lieutenant Billy Malone, Auxiliary Lieutenant Kyle Cranston, Auxiliary Lieutenant Michael Riley, Secretary Wendy Neisberg, Treasurer Nick Palumbo, Executive Advisor Alexandra Talti, and Executive Advisor Miles Bucalleri, and Statistician Scott Lewis. I think that there's so many of you. You're going to have to get sworn in first by our clerk. So she will come forward and ask you all to raise your right hands.
It's okay. Just do your thing.
Okay, loud and proud. Everyone raise your right hand. And then after I say I, you'll repeat your name. And then when it comes up to the part where I say faithfully discharge the duties, you'll just repeat what your respective duty is. So, on behalf of the state of New York, County of Suffolk, the village of Southampton, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of according to the best of my ability. Congratulations, everyone.
Can you guys get in tight, and we'll be able to get some semblance of a picture here. We can stand up here, and maybe they can see us. Yeah, get in here, Roy. All right, here we go. How's that?
Okay, ready? Eyes on me.
All right, thank you all very much. Congratulations. Yeah, yes, Tom. Okay, and finally, but not last, recognition for the newly appointed 2024 Southampton Village Fire Department officers. And they are, in order here, Chief Emmanuel Escobar, First Assistant Chief Paulus Walker, Second Assistant Chief Richard Fowler. And then we have Agawam Engine Company 1, Captain James Duryea, First Lieutenant Jason Paremba, Second Lieutenant Eugene Squires. Agawam Hose Company 1, Captain Patrick Collins, First Lieutenant Oscar Bowling, Second Lieutenant Shane Finocchiaro. Hook and Ladder Company 1, Captain Constantine Beladides. Did I say that right? No. Beladize. Sorry, Beladize. First Lieutenant Peter Feeney and Second Lieutenant Graham Finns. Southampton Hose Company 1, Captain Ken R. Lockhart. First Lieutenant Patrick Terry, Second Lieutenant Mike Adamchuk. Thank you. And Fire Police Company 1, Captain Tim Hurley, First Lieutenant Ted Lachik, and Second Lieutenant William Edwards. Okay.
Same way.
Okay, so everyone, you'll raise your right hand, and when I say I, then you'll state your name. When I say according to the best of my ability, or faithfully discharge your duties, then you'll state the duty, and then I'll go from here. Okay, so raise your right hand, everyone. On behalf of the County of Suffolk, what was that, Chief? On behalf of the
County of Suffolk.
I'm sorry, the County of Suffolk and the Village of Southampton, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Okay.
All right, eyes on me.
Squeeze in.
Thank you, Mayor Manger, I appreciate that. All right, very good. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For being here.
We have to talk about that.
Yes, I'll come see you. You here tomorrow?
I'm not here tomorrow.
Quickly, I'm glad to your fan club. Okay. Well, it's almost.
Oh, Alex.
No, there isn't, but. So we had another board presentation from Tree Commissioner Peter Grealish, but he has not arrived yet. So we're going to move that to later in the agenda, and we will start with mayoral appointments. Mr. Administrator, can you please do that?
Sure. We have two mayoral appointments. First, resolved, Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve John Dew to be appointed as a part-time electrician in the Building Maintenance Department at a rate of $45 per hour, limited to no more than 20 hours per week, effective Friday, December 29th, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And some will remember that Jack Dew, as he's referred to, did work in the village as an electrician previously, and he has been willing to come back and help us where we need some assistance in this area on a part-time basis. So we're very glad to have Jack Dew back with us.
Okay. Any opposed?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees appoints Hannah King to the position of Student Intern Level 2 in the Police Department at an hourly rate of $25, effective Friday, January 19th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right. Chief, did you want to say anything about Hannah King?
I'm excited to have her, and this is the first time we've had an intern in the police department.
All right. I think it's great to have a young lady who wants to be an intern in the police department to help out where we need some additional assistance. That's great. So all in favor? Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Okay. I see Mr. Grealish is still not here, so we will continue with public comment.
Mr. Mayor, we have one public comment on the sheet here. Mr. David Rung.
David Rung, 85 Pleasant Lane, Southampton. I really thought all these people were here to hear my remarks, but I guess not. First, I must address the board's denial of my Freedom of Information Law request. This request, which pertained to documents related to the board's self-awarded pay raises, proposed lifetime benefits, and the failed initiative to extend term limits from 2 years to 4 years, was not only reasonable, but also crucial for public understanding of the decision-making of this administration. Denying such a request goes against the very essence of FOIL, which is designed to ensure open governance and public access to records. Here are some comments that I've heard from people that I've shared this with. What are they trying to hide? What are they afraid of? Now I'll quote from the December 14th Southampton Press edition, which gave a bag of coal to this administration. To the Southampton Village Board, a board that seems immune to reminders and admonitions to discuss public business fully in public, the way government is meant to operate. This kind of behavior flies in the face of the spirit of the Open Meetings Law. Another topic. Last meeting, I noted that 700 Meadow Lane, which sold for $112.5 million, had a village assessed ratio of 0.003. I encourage residents to file grievances and demand that they be treated the same as 700 Meadow Lane. The mayor said you can't use Meadow Lane as a comparable. I would ask, why not? 700 Meadow Lane is a residence in the village, as all our homes are residents in the village. Apparently, the mayor believes that the privileged are entitled so that the rest of us have to pay higher taxes and the privilege can be subsidized. Note that the mayor also lives in an oceanfront property and has a very favorable assessed ratio. So understand his self-interest in requiring higher taxes from us so that he can pay less. I would like residents to file grievances. Grievance day is February 20th. And remember, bring a member of the Ethics Committee with you. And I'd like you to file a grievance, not because that I think you will be treated fairly, but you should experience the same despicable treatment my wife and I have been subjected to in each of our grievance hearings in the last 2 years. That experience will convince you not to vote for any of these 5 individuals.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I think that's disingenuous.
Okay. Mr. Grealish is still not here? Okay. So does anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, we will move on then to public hearings.
Can we check if anybody on Zoom?
Okay.
Okay, we move on. We have 6 total public hearings. I'll turn it over now to the village attorney.
Okay, so the first 5 public hearings are hearings all related to what's proposed as a new wireless cell tower code for the village. We are at this time going to open all 5 of those amendments to local laws at the same time because they all relate to the same thing. The first resolution is a resolution setting a public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 116 of the Village Code of Southampton by deleting 116-2327. That's the existing wireless facilities code. So there's a public hearing on deleting that. The next local law is a public hearing to consider a local law adding Article 10 to Chapter 116 of the code. That would be the comprehensive new wireless cell tower code. This would regulate and develop a process to expedite cell tower applications within the village in accordance with recent federal mandates and guidelines. So that's what the second hearing is on that rather lengthy proposed new code. The third hearing is a public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 116-2 of the zoning code, which is the definitions code, and that's simply to add in the definitions that we're referring to in the new wireless code. So there's very specific industry language in the new wireless code, and that adds them to our zoning code for reference for people. And then the next one is a resolution setting public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 116-38, the site plan review, and that's simply adding some minor language changes to explain which of the cell tower type applications will be required to have a site plan review and the extent of that review. Okay, and then the last code on for review today is a local law amending Chapter 116-3, classes of districts, and that's simply the way it is now in the code. A wireless communications facility is a special exception use in each of the districts, and this just changes it to a permitted use in each of the districts, obviously subject to the standards in the new code of Article 10. So those are the 5 public hearings that we've opened right now. If you make any comments, they will be a part of the record for each of the individual codes. So I'm
And-
happy to answer any questions also.
Maybe just explain the rationale and the reasoning why we are doing this time.
Okay, so there's some, the obviously cell service is important to everybody, and there is this thought that there's going to be these smaller smaller cell nodes coming into the village. Some of the wireless companies want to put up these smaller nodes on utility poles, light poles, etc. There's also been a change in federal regulation that requires us to expedite the process. So in order to facilitate, expedite it, and make sure the village is still doing its due diligence and making a review, we've drafted this code.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. Does anyone wish to speak on any of the wireless local laws that now are open for public comment?
I would just like to
Sure.
say, if I may, that the FCC issued a ruling, or the federal government issued a ruling allowing the FCC back in 2018 to have the cell providers install repeaters and other devices like nodes. And this legislation is really intended to protect the village with certain aspects of control as well as aesthetics, so that things look the way we'd like them to look. So that is really my comment on this.
Gina, Roy?
Just to reiterate the comments made by Mr. Picot at the previous meeting, that not only is this for the convenience of the residents to improve cell service in all aspects of the village, but it's directly related to our emergency services department's ability to function wherever they are in the village, because so much of communication these days depends on good cell service. And currently, I was speaking with the guys from the ambulance department just a few days ago, and there are certain places in the village where their pagers do not go off. And of course, they're volunteers, so if they're at home and their pager doesn't get off, they don't know to come in and answer the call to go out on the ambulance call. So it's essential that we do this. It is coming, and as Trustee Zananti mentioned, we want to make sure that when it does come, we just don't have unsightly cell towers erected all over the place, that we have some control over where they're placed and how they look, to keep our village in the character to which we love. So just to add that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
What you said, I agree. It's most importantly, of course, it's for the convenience of the residents, but the most important thing, and the reason why we'd like to get this done, is for our volunteer and emergency services, that they have to have the proper communication in order to do what they need to do.
So again, I would ask if anyone in the room or anyone on Zoom has any comments that they would like to make on the wireless legislation. All right, then I think I will ask that this public hearing be closed but held open for written comment for 10 days for anybody that would like to submit any information to the village board to be taken into consideration before moving forward with this legislation. It also has to be reviewed by Suffolk County, and we will hear back from them shortly. But at this point, I'd like to make a motion just to close this for written comment only for 10 days.
And it's all 5 hearings at once we're closing again.
Yes,
so
all
you know.
5 hearings at once are being closed for this meeting, and held open, though, for 10 days for any public comment from anybody. Written, sorry. Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just so you're clear, the copies of the codes are available at the village clerk's office.
All right, I would like to now open local law number 6 public hearing.
Local law number 6, amending chapters 110-16 truck weight limits, 110-16.1 system of truck routes, and 110-40 schedule 1 truck weight limits to the Village Code of Southampton by adding commercial truck restrictions and amending permitted truck routes within the village.
Okay, I will make a motion to open this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Does anyone, should we discuss what this is doing exactly? Chief, would you like to discuss it a little bit, please?
Sure.
This is something we worked on with you to try and enhance, some of the controls we have in the village for commercial traffic traveling on residential streets specifically.
Yeah, we're just kind of cleaning up what has been on the code with different signage and also adding various streets to prohibit certain vehicles over a certain weight limit. And we're hoping by doing that, that'll keep a bulk of the truck traffic, except for local deliveries, obviously, either on Montauk Highway and or County Road 39. And hopefully the goal there is to kind of ease traffic a little bit. If we do a little bit with each thing, then hopefully
It'll all come together.
it'll all come together and it won't be as frustrating for our residents that deal with it every day.
Right. And just so to go into it a little bit, this is for vehicles having a total gross weight in excess of 10,000 gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR.
Yes.
Exactly. And this comports with New York State code and law.
Code, law, DOT, it's all in here and our guys enforce it.
So just a question,
Mhm.
so if we were talking about the gross weight, if we have a truck and
Mhm.
then there's a trailer behind the truck.
You do
Is
a
that
combo.
separate? or
No,
is it all
it's all gonna
together?
be all together.
Okay,
Correct.
just for a little clarity.
And I think you explained to me, maybe you could explain to everybody that you now have the equipment for your officers to identify which vehicles are over the limit, which before we did not have the equipment. Or
Yeah, no, we have the scales and the weights that our officers are trained in to weigh the vehicles to see if, all the vehicles have their GVWR labeled. It's not always on the registration, but it's always gonna be inside the door of the vehicle. So they'll have that, and then they can take that plus whatever they're towing or whatever contents they have, if it's a dump truck, and weigh it. And if it's overweight, I don't know the exact verbiage, Sergeant Dunkirk or Officer Castle is much well versed in it than I am, but they can write them for being overweight, and if it's a certain percentage, that's what they write. And as you go over the percentage, the fines increase, and they do it by axle.
And I would just add that this was done in consultation with our traffic consultant, Ryan Winter at VBH.
Yes, he's helped us identify the roads. We went through what roads needed them, what roads we need to replace the signage to be able to write the ticket. The issue that we discussed, Trustee Stevenson, was we had to change the verbiage on the sign because then only our officers, if we do a set weight, 10,000 pounds or more, then only our officers that are trained, which we have 2, can utilize the weights and the scales. Where if we change the verbiage on the signage to GVWR, the officers that are trained in the scales can write the ticket, but then the other officers can write disobeying the traffic control device, which is the sign.
Right. Excellent. So this will give the village police department more enforcement capabilities.
Correct.
Anyway, thank you very much, Chief.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Mr. McFarland? Anything on this traffic? All right. Anyone on Zoom? Okay. All right. Well, at this time then, if there are no comments from any of the board members, anyone? Okay, then I think I would ask that we close this public hearing on the truck weight limits and accompanying legislation.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, now I see Mr. Grealish is here. I would like to call you forward, Mr. Grealish, to the podium so that you could speak a little bit about the tree committee, but more specifically, what we're looking to do tonight in designating a heritage tree according to our village code.
Good.
Welcome, and why don't you just introduce yourself? You're on the tree committee of the village of Southampton.
My name is Peter Grealish. I'm a Southampton Village resident, and the village has asked me to be on the village's tree board. Last week, they asked me to go down to the end of Hill Street at the East Gate entrance of the Shinnecock Indian Reservation, where there is some work being done from National Grid, and there seemed to be some disturbance with a a very large and old and a tree that should be recognized as a heritage tree. I don't know why it hasn't been done, but this is all very new to us, being a tree village and having that capability to be doing this. So this is a very good start, and I think that tree is certainly very iconic due to the fact that where it is and how old it is and the variety of the tree and the entrance to the village and the proximity to the Indian reservation. So all these things come into play. I was asked to go down because of the construction that was going on with National Grid, and I did go down there and spoke to some of the people there, and where they were expressing their concerns, and I did see where the National Grid had dug, holes near the tree, and certainly I can understand where the people from the reservation or anybody from the village would have concerns about that having any sort of impact on the tree. With my observations, I saw where the work was being done. It seemed to be far enough away from the trunk of the tree to not have a I'm not saying it can't have any negative impact, but I don't think it's any sort of fatal problem. I think some of the issues that would be involved is more of the traffic that was being driven around the tree and things that are being stored under the tree. I believe the tree should be, protected in any manner it possibly can be. Mm-hmm. So there was like material being stored underneath the tree where I don't believe that should have been taking place. I did not see how close they dug, but in general rule of thumb, past the drip line of the tree, there are certainly roots that go beyond the drip line of the tree, but there's enough roots around the tree where I don't think it's really going to have any impact whatsoever. The compaction of driving on the tree and so on and so forth, and we had met at Mayor Manger's office and discussed some other issues that might be going on with the tree as far as drainage. Okay, it's a very low area where water can collect, and we had a discussion about possibly trying to avert some of the water so the tree doesn't get as much water as it's getting right now. Mm-hmm. And I would say that area would be be prone to poor drainage because of its proximity and the high water table there, because of its relation to the bays, where the bays start right there. It's a very low area, so I believe any water that we can divert from that area. I mean, this is all after National Grid is pretty much done with their work there. Mm-hmm. So we had that conversation, and Steve Phillips and I went down there to look at the situation and agreed that maybe some curbing and some diverting of the water from the tree would be helpful. The other thing that I did want to point out with beech trees in general, and I think these are going to be, we have to recognize that these are two totally separate instances, that we are having problems with beech trees right now due to beech leaf disease. And this is something relatively new, and it's very devastating throughout the whole Northeast and beyond. And this is really just very new. It's only about where it has become people in the industry being aware of it probably in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So there are some preventative measures to try to alleviate that problem, but it's still sort of in a trial and error type of situation right now. I think by this coming spring and this summer, we're going to be able to monitor some of the other beech trees in the area that have been treated. Okay, we have very big similar trees on very large estates here, and the people that have these trees have been trying to maintain and control this problem. So I think we'll have a better idea next year if some of these remedies are actually working or not. So it's sort of just, we don't know that much right now. But I know that the board is working on making the tree in question a heritage tree, which I am in full agreement. I am in full support of the Indian people on the reservation and their concern about the tree, because it's the entrance to their, it's not only the entrance to the reservation, it's also the entrance to the village. So this is a combined effort, and I think the people of the village should be as concerned as the people from the reservation are.
Definitely. Thank you,
So-
Peter. Does anyone have questions for Peter? Oh, Mr. McFarland would like to say something.
Congratulations, I don't have questions. I live next to the tree.
You don't look like an Indian.
And I know the reservation too well. This tree approximately,
You have to speak into the microphone. I'm sorry, Alan.
this tree approximately 10 or 12 years ago, I'm informed, was dying. And a group, it's the oldest civic association in the country, the Village Improvement Association of Southampton, VS. It's been going since, I believe, 1884. It was put together by a group of people who were local proprietary people and people coming out from the city on weekends. And they do good works, and they do plants in the village and everything. They noticed and were informed that the tree was dying. And about 10 or 12 years ago, the chairman was David Gillespie, friend of mine, known him forever. The chairman, they hired people and an arborist, probably not you, but your predecessor, a good arborist, to come to the tree and repair it. They fed the roots, they did all sorts of things to try to preserve it, and it vastly recovered over the past decade. I've spent some time with the people from this gas utility. Natural gas doesn't come from fracking on Long Island. We get it, and it gets distributed all the way out to Montauk. They are putting in a large valve with bypasses, and it will ruin that park because there's a big cement square which probably won't be covered by grass, because when they can get into that valve, it will severely regulate the gas that just goes out, and gas leaks and everything out to Montauk. So they can control the flow of gas and keep it in western Suffolk County for the, I say, 8 months of the year when there's very little use of gas out this way. Those of you who are in the village that use gas, no restriction, but it will greatly control the flow of gas going from west to east. And they're very careful about the tree. I had a discussion with 3 of the people there. I guess they're supervisors of various rank about 10 days ago. This is about a 3-month project to do the work. It'll be done satisfactorily, we hope. And the Indians are concerned for several reasons. They have an opinion from somebody that they own that park. The village doesn't own it. That can be solved. Alex, you can take care of that. I believe that the village owned it. 10 years ago, with Gary Gillespie, we started to deal with that park. There is a culvert in between the back of the park where the village owns that goes from up to the north down Tuckahoe Lane, which used to flood all the time, flooded badly 3 days ago. And they dug a big culvert to go into Hetty Creek. Nobody knows that now because Hetty Creek has been taken over, like many of our villages, with Phragmites. The Indians don't know what to do about it. Some of them like Phragmites, some of them don't. But the reservation trustees, there were 3 of them then, agreed to try to dig that culvert out, have the water flow better into the bay. That part of Hetty Creek is suspect for them because there's an oyster project down there that the Smith family runs, and the water is compromised by the flow basically from, say, Tuckahoe School. There's a huge flow of that water down through my property and everything into the creek. There's a drain that the village put in. I don't think the town put it in because the village owns half of that road. heading up to the highway. That project should probably be done again on the budget for parks and everything, which guys will attend to in the next years. Dig that thing out, get the flow going, and it'll improve the flooding, and that tree will be preserved. One of the people with the wood who's very upset about this tree, his younger brother, I believe, was one of the fellows that died on that square about 6 years ago. They, so we say, misnavigated returning to the reservation and killed themselves driving into another tree just to the southwest of that. It was a big tragedy for the reservation. So it's an emotional spot for them. But the report in the press, which is occasionally reliable, what you've done, Your Honor, to talk to them is commendable. It's a problem that will be solved, and if it's going to be a heritage tree, I hope it survives. And the disease, it's known, it is a problem. Maybe chemical warfare will sustain it, at least to my funeral. That's my report.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
Close investigation of what we did 10 or 12 years ago to preserve that tree.
Thank you very much. And yes, we are looking at things we can do upon designation of this tree as a heritage tree to, again, protect it, enhance it, and make sure that we give it every opportunity to thrive at that location. So thank you, Alan. Thank you, Peter Grealish, for coming in and speaking to us about it.
Thank you, Peter.
Does anyone else have any comments or things that they would like to add? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And now we will go to suggested resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolved, the claims for the warrant dated January 11th, 2024, in the amounts of $424,806.35, warrant number A-14, General Fund, and $53,163.53, warrant number H-8- Capital Fund, are audited and approved.
Make a resolution. Make a motion. Sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering amending Chapters 110-16, Truck Weight Limits, 110-16.1, System of Truck Routes, and 110-40, Schedule 1, Truck Weight Limits of the Village Code of Southampton by adding commercial truck restrictions and amending permitted truck routes within the village.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Well,
I don't think
he didn't finish it, though.
Did you not? Oh, I'm sorry. There are
Yeah,
more.
sorry, sir.
I apologize.
That's quite all right. Whereas a public hearing was held by the village board on January 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against said amendment were heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law considered a Type 2 action under 6 NYCRR Part 617.5 provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Control Act, SECRA, and that no further review under the New York Environmental Conservation Law, Article 8, is necessary. Now therefore, be it resolved, local law number 6 of 2024 is hereby adopted.
Okay, now I'll make the motion.
And now I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees directs the Treasurer's Office to make the following budget modifications. From budget line A.5112.21, permanent improvement, paving in the amount of $45,000.00, to budget line A.5112.22, permanent improvement, drainage in the amount of $45,000.00.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. I just wanted to say that we are moving this money from the paving budget to the drainage budget because after the intense rains that we've been experiencing in the village over the last 6 months to a year, we have found it necessary to do more drainage projects. We, to date, have done 5 drainage projects in the village that were quite major. We have 3 more that really need to be done, and it costs a lot of money to do these extensive drainage projects on various streets in the village. So that is why we are moving money from paving to the drainage account so that we can cover the costs of these drainage projects. But it is to the betterment and enhancement of the village, and again, to decrease the flooding that we've had on some of the roads within the village. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the sale of tax liens on all unpaid property taxes for the fiscal year 2023-2024 will be held at 1:00 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, in the boardroom, Village Hall, 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York. Notice to this effect will be published in the official paper, the Southampton Press.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton has long recognized the importance of trees, shrubs, and associated vegetation to the natural, scenic, and aesthetic value of the village. And whereas the Board of Trustees has acknowledged the obligation of the village to protect trees and other vegetation on village property, and specifically to protect heritage trees as defined in Chapter 107-2 of the Village Code. And whereas the village trustees are aware of a 300-plus-year-old beech tree on village property just outside of the Shinnecock Indian Reservation, and whereas the members of the Village Southampton Tree Commission have been consulted and confirmed the age and significance of the beech tree. Now therefore, be it resolved, the beech tree located on village property on the triangular piece of property between Eastgate Road and Hill Street near the western boundary of the Village of Southampton is hereby declared a heritage tree of the Village of Southampton within the meaning of Chapter 107 of the Village Code, and shall be provided all of the protections of same.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And I just wanted to add that that we have requested and had National Grid move any of the material and equipment they had stored too close to the tree, and I had DPW put up some fencing around the perimeter of the the tree and the drip line to make sure that all the equipment was kept further away from the tree and not to compact the soil close to the roots of the tree there. So we did take those steps so far. By declaring it now a heritage tree, we are going to, again, reinvigorate our efforts to, again, look after that tree, protect that tree, and do everything we can to ensure that it lasts as long as possible. 300 plus years is a long time, and we hope that it lasts many, many more years. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the letter of resignation from Matthew Cheslatka, Maintenance Mechanic, Level 2, in the Buildings Maintenance Department, effective January 4th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the request from the Southampton Village Police Benevolent Association to host its annual Easter egg hunt in Agawam Park on Friday, March 29th, 2024, from 9:00 a.m. until 12:00 p.m.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Fire Department to host Family Day at Dune Beach on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024, from 7:00 a.m. until 10:00 p.m. Rain date is Sunday, August 4th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Fire Department to host their annual Antique Committee Chicken and Ribs fundraiser at Windmill Lane Firehouse on Saturday, August 17th, 2024, from 4 o'clock p.m. through 11 o'clock p.m.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Oh, I love those ribs.
Yeah.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Village Fire Department to host their annual Antique Muster at Agawam Park on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 8 o'clock a.m. through 6 o'clock p.m. Village departments will pre-coordinate for the event to include requests for Pond Lane closure. Cooper's Beach will also be utilized as an annex site for the event from September 13th, 2024 through September 15th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Fire Department to host an open house at Agawam Park on Saturday, October 19th, 2024, from 10 o'clock a.m. through 5 o'clock p.m. Due to the nature of the event, there will be the following road closure during the hours of 12 o'clock p.m. through 5 o'clock p.m., corner of Job's Lane and Pond Lane.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that concludes the resolutions. Now we will go to comments from board members, and we will start with Trustee Aresta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. DPW has been very busy this week, cleaning up after last week's storm. All the different departments worked together, and now they're preparing for the next storm that's coming this weekend. A lot of water. We had almost 3 inches of water that came down in a very short period of time. So I was out on Little Plains today when I was doing my walk, and the trucks were there and the crew was there cleaning up and opening up where the pipes come through from the road and then goes into the beach, into the sand. And some of the flooding is because the sand is so wet from so much water that the water can't pass through the pipes. So it was amazing because they opened it up and then the water was flowing. It's like they struck gold. The water was coming out of the pipe. It was kind of funny. But so they're working and they're preparing to make sure the pipelines are cleared for the next storm that is coming. Little update on Johnson Controls and what they're doing. The lighting has been done in the business, most of the business district, but Main Street is done. So all the green antique lamps that you see are all now LED lighting in there. The solar we're waiting for the solar subcontractors to deliver the solar panels for the carport that is going to be placed behind the stores in the parking lot behind Job's Lane. So we're waiting for that, and then they're going to also be as soon as the boilers come in, they will be replacing the boilers in the Windmill Lane Firehouse and SAC. So we're going to start to see a lot of that work that we've been planning for this past year in our initiative to go green in the village. So Happy New Year to everyone. It's the first time we've seen you since the new year. And hope everyone has a safe weekend, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Aresta. We'll go to Trustee Stevenson next.
You're not going to have Trustee Brown?
No, she has long drives.
Thank you. I simply would like to reaffirm and just say once more a big thank you and shout out to all of the officers that were of the various emergency services, the Ocean Rescue, the volunteer ambulance, the volunteer fire department that were sworn in this evening. This village would not be the safe and wonderful place that it is without the incredible service of all these people. Serving as a liaison to the ambulance and fire department, it stuns me how much time the officers spend administrating their departments, and not only that, but then how much time they spend actively serving and helping people in distress. And we are grateful to have such a wonderful staff of people that make this village what it is. So hats off to them, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. We'll go to Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank Alex Wallach and our village attorney, Eileen Powers, as well as Christian Pico for developing and producing the legislation that we had the public hearing on tonight. I know it was not an easy piece of legislation to draft and put together, and I think that, thank you. Also, on January 3rd, I attended the swearing in of the new town supervisor, the new town council members, and the new town trustees with Mayor Manger. And Mr. McLaughlin is in the audience, and congratulations on your election. We would like to wish all the elected officials well, and I look forward to a productive working relationship with the town officials on a variety of issues that are important to our residents, including clean water, and the police and first responders and the general public, enhanced cell service coverage, to name a few. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. I just want to also echo how pleased the village is that we have such dedicated members of our volunteer emergency services units willing to serve. It's a great testament to the village and all those that wish to serve the village. I do want to also thank the Department of Public Works especially, and the police department for the actions they took during the flooding earlier this week. It really was quite massive. I was very pleased that we were able to build a dune at Gin Beach, where usually trucks are able to drive onto the beach, but we had to put a dune up, and really the dune was essential to keeping the ocean from flowing into Lake Agawam. We even saw that the ocean did try to overtop the temporary dune that was placed there, but the DPW guys did a great job of putting that up and really protecting the parking lot and protecting really the lake from being inundated with ocean water. Which would have just created a greater flooding issue. But the flooding on Meadow Lane, we had to shut down Meadow Lane. Halsey Neck Lane, Cooper's Beach was almost like a lake. It really was amazing how much rain came down. And then with the bay and the tides, it was a new moon coming up. The flooding was really above and beyond what we normally experience here in the village. And that really wasn't even as major a storm as had been predicted. But I do want to thank DPW and the police department for being available to take care of that and make sure that people were safe and were not driving into water that was too deep to navigate through. It was really very important and very appreciated. Finally, I just wanted to say that I went over to Vets Hall earlier this week and saw the new floors that are being installed there in the kitchen and in the bar room. I think they look fantastic. That floor was really in disrepair and was in disrepair for quite a number of years. And it's great that we've been able to really spruce that up for not only our veterans, but everybody else that uses that facility, which is a village facility. As you know, it's connected to the cultural center. They sometimes go over into that portion as well. And so it's great when we're able to fix up an asset in the village because, again, we want to make sure that we improve as much the infrastructure of the village that needs attention. So I'm happy that next week it'll be completed, and maybe we can take a couple of pictures and make those available on the website so that people can see the improvement in the Veterans Hall. We also will be welcoming very soon a new top first-rate ambulance to the Volunteer Ambulance Corps that will be delivered, I think, within the next couple of weeks. So I know that the chiefs that we just inducted tonight will be very pleased to welcome that asset, and it will be helpful not only to them in carrying out their duties, but also in responding to residents or visitors to the village that need to call upon an ambulance to transport them to the hospital. So again, very happy that there's a lot of good things going on here in the month of January in the village of Southampton. And with that, I would like to make a motion to adjourn for executive session. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you very much all for coming. Now, 7:46 p.m. on January 11th, 2024, and I'm making a motion to come out of executive hearing and then to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second?
No action was taken. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.